I am marrying my brother's best friend. When my partner and I told my brother we were dating, he was happy. He was happy that his best friend and his favorite sibling were together. But when we told him we got engaged, things changed. He became sour and didn't even congratulate us. Throughout the entire wedding planning process, he made negative comments about everything and kept making jokes about what a terrible wife I'd be and that my partner should run while he can. My family and my partner all acted as if he was just joking. When we were 3 weeks out from my wedding, my brother asked me to come over to his place by myself. When I got there, he told me I needed to cancel the wedding. He kept saying he can't tell me why. I just need to cancel it. I was getting worried. Maybe he knew something about my fiance. Maybe he was protecting me. But he denied it. He said my fiance is great, but I need to cancel it. As a joke, I said it sounds like you're in love with him, and admitted that he is. I was taken aback and didn't know what to say, so I told him he was uninvited from the wedding and left. When my family and my fiance's family found out I uninvited him, he told them it was because he insulted me. So everyone thought I was just being dramatic and I'll get over it. It's now a week away from the wedding and my fiance keeps telling me to call my brother and sort it out. He says it's now getting ridiculous and he needs his best man. My family is calling me immature and keeps telling me to get over it, even though they don't know the full story. I'm so conflicted. I would never get with someone my siblings have romantic feelings for, but now it's too late. I love my fiance. We have a life together and we are planning our future. I just can't cancel it all. I'm also not going to out my brother to everyone. I'm not a horrible person. But I feel so guilty. Should I just let him come and be miserable at the wedding, or should I continue to be the a-hole to the rest of our family and keep him away? Not the a-hole. You don't need to tell everyone, but you need to tell your fiance. Whoa, okay, what a mess. Your brother has put you in an impossible situation. Not the a-hole for uninviting him, but what you do next will decide so many factors for your family going forward. Can you talk to your brother again? Maybe when you're both calm. Obviously, you don't want to out him, but keeping something like this from your future husband is a massive conflict. Not the a-hole, but I would tell your fiance. Ultimately, who you invite to your wedding is your call, but if you're pulling your fiance's best man from the wedding, then I think they deserve a reason. The other thing is, if you don't budge, you're almost surely going to run your relationship with your brother to the ground, and also have a really rough start to your marriage. It'd probably do everyone good to try to work things out, even bring in a counselor if necessary. Things might not be the same, but at the very least, they wouldn't be volatile. Good luck. Everyone sucks here, except for your fiance. You, because you're arbitrarily making a decision for two people. It's not just your wedding, it's your fiance's too, and you just didn't uninvite your brother. You uninvited your fiance's best man, and your brother for asking you to cancel your wedding. My wife has two siblings who she's been taking care of since she was little. They are in high school now. She took care of them when she was little. To keep it brief, she was adopted, and the brothers, parents were pretty horrible to everyone. Most of the time, she was the parent and the one getting the basic necessities that the parents should have been doing. At the time, she was in high school herself. Well, since then, she's taken care of them and got custody of them. When we got married and got a house, they came with. I come from a wealthy family. My mom doesn't like my wife, and it causes some separation between me and her. She doesn't like the fact that my wife isn't wealthy, and she doesn't like that my wife had a problematic background, and because I pay for kids that aren't mine. She's with me for my money. We've argued about this before. I agreed to this. The kids and my wife are a package deal. I haven't talked to my mom in a while, mainly because of her attitude towards my wife. I usually don't want her in my house, but my wife convinced me to let her, because yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the day my dad passed, and she came over. She brought them gifts. We have told my mother not to buy them expensive clothes. 1, they never wear them. They themselves have said they don't like those clothes. 2, they are messy athletic kids. They won't take care of it. 3, my wife has said she doesn't want them in these pricey clothes until they can pay for them themselves. Listen, I've been in their life for a few years. Some things I'll stay out of. She don't want them in those clothes. They don't want to be in those clothes. I don't see this being any of my business or an issue. She got them jeans and shirts. Fine, right? Would be if they weren't from Gucci. This has happened before, but again, we have said these 15-year-olds don't need to be wearing that. My wife said thank you for buying that, but she really doesn't want them to waste these clothes, and she doesn't want them to have these yet. My mother gets mad at her, saying that she bought them for them, not her, and to butt out. My wife said that again she appreciates it, but she won't take them. They go back and forth, and my mom tells my wife that she is being selfish and only being jealous that the kids can have more than her, and she won't let them walk around like hobos like my wife did, and she shouldn't be so butthurt about that. My wife ended up leaving the room, and I told my mom to leave and take the bags with her. She tried to argue with me, but we were all fed up, and today was just not the day for me, so I said she needs to leave or I'm calling the cops. She ended up leaving, but my family is pissed at me right now, especially for what day it was. I feel like I shouldn't even be listening to my family because they're always on her side. But am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You took your wife's side, and that was exactly what you should have done. Your mother was not respecting your wife's or her brother's wishes. Also, it seems like your mother intentionally brought those to flaunt her wealth in front of your wife, which is a really crappy thing to do. It might be time to go low or no contact with your mother. Info. Why are you both making things harder with your mother? No, the boys are not going to use these clothes. But you could easily do something like donate them to a charity auction rather than rebuffing what seems to be a well-meant gesture by your mom to include these kids in family gifting. This seems like you want conflict with her, not the other way around. I don't get it. Your mom thinks your wife and her siblings are just after you for your money, and this understandably bothers you. However, when your mom tries to share her wealth with these kids through designer gifts, you're also bothered? For better or worse, your mom expresses affection through wealth. I understand that Gucci is a waste for a 15-year-old, but what's the harm in accepting the gift? Everyone sucks here. Mom for being so critical and not listening to your requests regarding gifts. You and wifey for picking a very odd hill to die on. Not the a-hole. Your mom was given a clear and easy-to-follow boundary. She purposely stomped on it. This was showing disrespect for both of you. Mom should stay away from your home till she figures this out. My 42 female, wife, 50 female, was an undocumented worker when we met. She'd moved for better work because she was a single mom with 2 daughters, 4 and 5 at the time. She left her daughters in the care of her 2 sisters back in her home country and sent the majority of her paycheck to them. Eventually, we married, which gave her citizenship, so she was able to bring her daughters, 12 and 13 by this point, over. Well, after they arrive, we find out that sister-in-laws had brainwashed the girls into hating my wife. The girls cried and screamed constantly about wanting to go back to live with sister-in-laws again, and my sister-in-laws would call multiple times a day. It escalated to younger daughter breaking things in the house and the older refusing to eat. My wife eventually caved and let the girls continue living with her sisters. Shortly after, both girls went complete no contact with my wife. She continued sending money to sister-in-laws for another 13 years until she found out from a third party that her daughters had already moved out of sister-in-law's home. Sister-in-laws didn't tell her and just kept taking the money she sent. My wife cut sister-in-laws off at that point. Fast forward to a little over a year ago. Wife's older daughter had immigrated and was engaged to a man who lived in the state over from us. She reached out to my wife, who was ecstatic. Lots of traveling between states for meetups. There was some awkwardness, especially in regards to stepdaughter's attitude towards our adopted son, 11, but things seemed promising. My wife helped with the wedding planning, including paying for jewelry and the dress. An issue arose with their original venue, and they couldn't afford the move to the alternative one. So, as a gift, I paid the roughly $8,000 cost difference. We're now a few weeks out, and stepdaughter contacts my wife to tell her sister-in-laws are flying in for the ceremony. The wedding date is close to a holiday, so hotels are booked up, and stepdaughter's fiance's family were going to be staying with them, so they don't have room for sister-in-laws. Stepdaughter asked if they could stay with wife and I. My wife wanted to refuse, but didn't want to hurt their budding relationship, so I stepped up to be the bad guy. Things blew up. Sister-in-law's harassed wife almost daily with calls to complain. My wife's daughter went off on me and said I was one of the main reasons she hadn't talked to her mom in so long, and now I was ruining their relationship again. As it turns out, one of the sister-in-law's gems of slander was how I had turned their mother into bi, and that's why they couldn't be a real family. My wife now wants to give in and let sister-in-law stay with us, but while I would have gone along with her wishes before, now I'm truly putting my foot down about refusing. I don't want them under my roof or around my wife and our son if that's the kind of rhetoric they're disseminating. Am I the a-hole for choosing this hill to die on? Not the a-hole. Getting involved with her daughter's life without setting boundaries ahead of time was a bad idea. But you're doing a good job by setting them now. Sister-in-law sounds like an evil person. Something about your stepdaughter suddenly making amends, just in time to enjoy the financial benefits for her wedding, gives me pause. Especially since she quickly turned to harassment when your sister-in-laws couldn't enjoy free housing. It's safe to say keeping them at arm's length is the right call. But I'd also be wary about your stepdaughter's intentions, not the a-hole. Stepdaughter took your $8K and then said you were the reason she didn't talk to her mom? But your money is good enough? I'd bill her for the $8,000 and tell her to ask sister-in-laws for it. You have the right to stand up for yourselves and protect yourselves and your son from thieves. Or you and your son move to a hotel for a few days and avoid the wedding altogether. I sympathize with your wife and her wanting to be close to her daughter finally, but the price isn't worth it. Not the a-hole. I'm flying out to Belgium from the UK to attend a friend's wedding. Thanks to the internet, we've been friends for a little over a decade. She's getting married in March next year and wanted me to attend as we're very close friends. I agreed happily. She recently reached out to tell what I'd be expected to bring as a wedding gift. I had been planning a gift already, a custom piece of art to commemorate their day made up with their birthstones. All in all, a cute design that I've seen online that I thought would be nice, but I'd not yet ordered it, so I was of course happy to hear what she wanted instead. I was told I had to bring a minimum of £250 cash as my wedding gift to them. I was shocked by this, as that's a lot of money, especially considering that I have to fly out and get a hotel. When I questioned her about this, she said it was the bare minimum every guest had to bring, and that anyone who didn't wasn't allowed into the wedding. This had me shocked, as that's extremely rude, right? I confronted her about that, and told her it wasn't really appropriate to make such demands of her guests, and that I wasn't comfortable with this. She brushed it off, saying it was normal and customary in Belgium, as all the money goes towards getting the newlyweds a house. Okay, I can see some grounds in that, and would be happy to throw a little cash towards that if that's what she wants. But the demanding and the set price seems selfish to me, and this isn't a small wedding. She has 97 guests coming. It seems like a cash grab to me, and I've not been able to see any hint of this being a tradition in my online searches. I told her as much, and she had a meltdown, saying if I wasn't comfortable paying, it wouldn't be fair to the other guests who were paying, and she wouldn't be comfortable with me being there. Then even bragged about how her father had promised her $3,000 as his gift. I told her if she felt that way, I wasn't sure I wanted to come, and thanked her for the invitation. She's been freaking out online over my disrespect to her customs, and my rudeness in questioning her, and even crying to other friends about how I'm trying to spite her day. Am I out of line for not feeling comfortable with this? Not the a-hole. That's not a custom. Sounds like she figured out the cost per person and tacked on additional money to profit off her wedding. Tacky. Not the a-hole. Custom to buy the bride and groom a house? I highly doubt it. It's a cash grab. Give her a custom piece of art of a picture of $250 and tell her it's for her dream home. As in, only in her dreams would you give her that much money. Not the a-hole. She is absolutely lying to you. Cash gifts are custom in many cultures. You know what is not a custom anywhere? Dictating the amount that you have to gift. She's being greedy. You already know she's lying though, and you're right. It really is just a cash grab. The obvious answer here is to not go to the wedding. You'd have to spend a bunch of money to fly out and attend her wedding. Flights and hotel alone will add up fast. Never mind the other related expenses and the wedding gift. She's shown her true colors, and I doubt she was a very close friend if she's treated you so poorly. So she probably did you a favor going full bridezilla before you wasted all your time and money on her wedding. Chances are your mutual friends aren't going to be too pleased with her either, so I certainly would not worry about her complaining about you to them. But the fact that she's holding this against you certainly just makes it all the more clear what a giant a-hole she is. My wife's family has very unrealistic views on what beauty is. I remember pointing it out to her, and all she told me was that it's ingrained in their culture, and they don't mean any harm. For context, her family is Chinese. My wife does not share the same views. Anyways, we have 2 sons, 8 and 6. The first thing my mother-in-law said to us when she saw our eldest for the first time was, "He's going to have such nice white skin." As he got older, she and my wife's aunts would make more comments about him, and would constantly talk about how his eyes are beautiful, how nice and skinny and tall he is, how white his skin is, etc. It's like they don't see him for anything else but how he looks. Eventually, I got real tired of this as my son started to insult his brother by saying he had whiter skin. He also made comments about how his brother has tiny eyes, a whiter nose, etc., and obviously this is ducked up. For context, my elder son is more white passing, whereas my younger son looks more Asian. I told my wife if the comments persisted, I wouldn't let her mother near our kids again. She said okay, and that was right, and the comments stopped. I came home from work yesterday and my wife was talking to her mom on the phone with the speaker on. My mother-in-law then started talking about how we should get our 8-year-old son to model because he's just perfect and she hasn't seen a kid with whiter skin. My wife laughed awkwardly and said she'd think about it, but I was pissed. I spoke up and said, "No, we won't think about it. The answer is no. You sound creepy, and if you say another word about how our children look, you will not be allowed near them." Her mom went silent before screaming at me, and my wife glared at me. The two then started speaking Mandarin so I couldn't understand, but they hung up and my wife went, "I'm sure you're happy now, a-hole." She's really upset and said that her mom wants an apology, but I refuse. She says I'm being ignorant and can't blame her mother as she grew up with this mindset. Am I the a-hole? My sister says I should just say sorry. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law is doing damage to both kids and your wife is allowing it. She can either keep the peace with her mom by allowing her to act like this, or she can protect her kids from having body issues and growing to hate each other because the older is always favored. I hope she chooses wisely. Not the a-hole. You're looking after your kids. You're trying to bring them up so they can love themselves exactly as they are. Mother-in-law is a massive a-hole. I don't care how you were brought up. You can question and learn and grow. She's not just refusing to do any of that. She's fostering problems. Not the a-hole. Every culture does things others don't understand. Your wife may understand where your mom is coming from, but you don't. With this misunderstanding, everyone thinks each other is an a-hole. You're not, though. You may be down to burn a bridge, but your wife may not. Lots of things to communicate between the two of you.